Hey guys, what's going on? It's me here, Zach, aka Jazzy Sin, bringing you part 2 of the Gruul Adventures guide. This time we're focusing on sideboarding. Before we get into that though, I want to kind of go over the new changes to Gruul, how the deck's kind of evolved in the past week or so since I've last talked about it. And after that, then we'll hop into just a really quick matchup guide, kind of against the top 5 meta decks, and it give you exactly what the sideboard would take out. So you just have a really good tool of when you're playing on ladder. Just you know what you need to sideboard so you can hopefully get the best chances at winning. So yeah, let's hop right into that. Alright guys, so let's just do a quick glance at what new changes have happened to the deck, and then we will kind of go into the sideboard game. So as you can see, some things have changed. There's now a movement for having kind of a split importance, I guess you could say, put on the legendary artifacts in the deck. You now run 3 Embercleave and 3 Great Henge. A lot of people are cutting Henge for a little bit, but I think it's kind of just come around that it's so OP and broken, like you might as well just run as many as you can. And to do that, they've opted in for running the Fire Prophecy rather than Scorching Dragonfire right here. And that's because there's a lot of times where you have like either a dead land in your hand or like a second Great Henge or Embercleave, and you want to kind of filter your cards. And this really lets you do that in a really good way that you get to also kill things, where normally if you're just running Scorching Dragonfire, you kill something but you don't really get anything more. This gives you that opportunity, and if you're using this with your sideboard already, it also helps benefit in another way I'll touch on later. But yeah, this is kind of more the change that you see, cutting back some questing beasts just for the Great Henge, having a Vivian main board. Maybe some people are running still on a Crow and War main board. That's just kind of what you like prefer, I guess. But yeah, we're going to use this guide. It is this deck, I should say. This is from Ray Sato. I believe he got like first place in the MPL the other week. And yeah, so we're just going to dissect his sideboard and kind of go into a guide on how to use his sideboard against the current meta decks. So let's hop into that. So yeah, let's hop into discussing the meta. We're going to go in reverse order of the top 6 meta decks, starting with Esper Doom and ending with Gruul Adventure, the mirror match. And we're going to talk through these decks and talk about what sideboard cards are good, why they're good, and how to use them in the deck. And then I'm going to tell you what you should take out, what you should put in. So yeah, let's start with Esper Doom. Alrighty, so when you're playing against Esper Doom, you kind of realize that a lot of your creatures get like captured by their removal pieces, or they have the Doom Foretold, and you have to sacrifice things, discard things. So how do we really combat that? Well, they're kind of a slow deck, and they develop like a lot of enchantment pieces that kind of become stacksy almost and take over the board. And the best way to kind of beat that is just by going all in aggressive, you know? So I totally recommend we're going to take out 3 Skoos, and we're going to take out 1 Henge, and we're going to replace that with 1 Questing Beast and 2 Garruk Planeswalkers and 1 Vivian, because you kind of want the ability to be super aggressive, and having the hasted creatures really lets you do that. Having the Garruk buff your creatures and get in for more damage, you can kill through their walls, their little overall walls that they create. It helps you apply a lot of pressure that is very difficult and annoying for them to deal with. Beyond that, the Vivian gives you that kind of extra piece of grinding them out. You can create blockers against their Yorion that they probably have, and it gives you like a really good way of like beating them at the end of the game, kind of. So you kind of get the best of both worlds. You get the early aggression plus the end game grindiness. In the next matchup we're going to be talking about mono green. And oh god, I just hate that deck so much. But Gruul is pretty good against mono green. You have a lot of the same kind of big creatures, but then you got Embercleave, so you can get over them. So it's kind of a good matchup, I would say. In the sideboard, you have really good answers to their deck too. So let's hop into that. So I think the most useless card in the deck against mono green is definitely the Brushfire Elemental. Mono green just has such big boys that you can't really like attack through with that creature, so you might as well just cut it and get in something different. That gives you 4 slots to slide in whatever you want. You can put in removal, XYZ, whatever, it's up to you. But I would recommend putting in To a Crow and War. It lets you take advantage of their big creatures if they have like a giant Yorbo or something, or the Troll King guy. Now you have it for a couple turns and you can beat in with that. Kind of takes away their tempo too by doing that, and makes their like weaker creatures attack in, that you can like take advantage of that and block, kind of clear their whole board in that sense. With the extra 2 slots, I put into Wilt because I think that's probably the best card in the matchup. You get rid of their Great Henge, you can cycle it, get in deeper to your deck, find some different pieces, and yeah, overall, it's just a really good interactive card for the matchup. So, according to this website, mtgdecks.net, the third most popular deck right now is Red Deck Wins. And despite how much I love that deck and not wanting to tell you guys how to beat it, I'll go ahead and do it this one time. So, how to beat that deck? Well, you just got to kill their creatures and have bigger creatures than them, or just heal a little bit and you'll win. So, the cards you don't really need in this matchup are Questing Beast. Your other cards are already big enough. You don't need the Death Touch to deal with them. He is a good creature against them, kind of. But realistically, at the end of the day, having more removal pieces is more useful than having a 4/4. You can take out 2 Skoos. Skoos, while it is good in the matchup, it can heal you. A lot of the times, your removal pieces in this matchup are going to remove the creature anyways, and you're not going to have targets for your Skoos. And a lot of their removal can kill the Skoos on sight, so it's not always the best card in the matchup. You might want other cards to help you with them. And you can take out a Primal Might. We're going to be focusing more on removal and control in this matchup, and you don't really need the Primal Might. That's more of like a finisher, I feel like, in this deck. And in the way we're going to sideboard against them, you're not going to really need a finisher. So what are we putting in? Well, we're going to put in 2 Scorching Dragonfires because killing an Annex and exiling it is the best thing ever. They don't get any tokens. You completely ruin their whole tempo for 2 mana. They just paid 3 mana to do that. It's awesome. You can also put in some Crowan Wars. That will let you steal their creature. Maybe they have an Embercleave on it. Now you have an Embercleave, and you have a big old creature. So it's a really useful tool in that regard. And you make all their little 1/1s attack you, and you get a trade with them, and they kill themselves if you can't block them all. And that's very useful too. Couple other cards you can add in. Wilts are super good. You can either kill an Annex, you can blow up an Embercleave before it does damage, and then you can trade with their creature that had the Embercleave for a second, completely destroying their tempo, eating up all their mana. They're basically going to lose after that turn, so definitely worth putting in a Wilt. And Vivian. Vivian is super strong in the matchup. If you can get basically a constant 3/3 blocker every turn, they're not going to be able to get through that, like even with like a Torbrand. Their 1/1s trading with that token is totally fine. Embercleave, it gives you enough like toughness to kind of block it out until you get to the resources that you need to destroy it. So what I would recommend as like the kind of like, I guess exactly what you should do in this matchup, I would take out 3 Embercleave, 1 Questing Beast, 2 Skoos, and a Primal Might. And I would put in 2 Scorching Dragonfires, a Crowan War, 2 Wilts, and 1 Vivian. It gives you just the perfect amount of grindiness and control, and you're not really winning this match through the Embercleave. You're winning it through deciding what your opponent is allowed to do. And you're able to do that through the Gruul deck because your creatures have such big stats that you force the red deck into a streamlined playstyle that you can easily counter through your sideboard. So now we're entering the top 3 most played decks in the meta right now. We're going to start with number 3, Rakdos, mid-range, and this deck has a lot of good tools against this deck, actually. So in the sideboard, we have great cards like Klothys, the Crowan War, and Ox of Agonis for this matchup specifically. The way you're going to win this one is by also controlling kind of like the mono red. You're going to exile their graveyard a lot through Klothys. You're going to steal their Croxet if you don't have the ability to exile it in that time. And you're going to have your Ox of Agonis so you can discard when they play their Croxet, and then you get free pluses off of drawing off of that, because ultimately at the end of the day, if you're drawing so much more, then they're able to make you discard, and you have a big blocker that's a 5/3, and you just need like a little 1/1 token or something to be able to kill their Croxet. It puts you at such an advantage state that they don't really get to do what they want to do. All right, so what do you take out in this matchup? So I'm going to recommend some things that might sound crazy, but I'll explain why. So I'm just going to go through what to take out first, then I'll explain it. So we're going to take out 3 Embercleave, 1 Henge, 1 Questing Beast, and then we're going to take out both 1 Mammoth and 1 Brushfire Elemental. Now, I know I said earlier that this deck has now been taking advantage of how strong these legendary artifacts are, the Embercleave and the Henge, And why would we take them out? Well, the black Rakdos mid-range deck is literally like 3 creatures and just infinite kill cards, and the ability to resolve these high CMC artifacts without having creatures that are able to stick is kind of difficult. So it's kind of worth taking these out to put in value engines of a different kind that can help us beat this deck. So you're going to be putting in 2 Colossus instead. So you get to exile their graveyard, you get to gain life, you get to drain them, and he kind of puts their opponent on a clock from like turn 3 that they have to deal with, or else they'll just lose the game. We're also going to put into a Crowan War, like I said, to take advantage of their creatures that can come back, and then we can use them, clear up their board so we can attack in, use our own creatures as attack in, and it's just really beneficial for us. You could even steal like a Death Touch guy or whatever, block whatever you need to block. It's very useful, if anything, just to get in for a solid attack. Put in a Vivian because they don't have a lot of Planeswalker removal in the deck, and having the value of being able to like propagate a bunch of tokens and then being able to cast things off the top of your deck, not always relying on having cards in hand because you're going to be forced to discard a lot in that deck, is a very useful tool, and it can help you generate the value you need to pull through and win. And then having 2 Ox is really useful because you just, again, you're discarding cards all the time when you're playing against that deck. Your creatures die. It gives you a way to have a sticky creature that can come back, fight with pretty good stats, and be able to kind of grind out the match. Alrighty, so the number 2 most played deck right now is Rogues, and this has like a few different variants. I mean, you got the Mill Rogue, and you got like the mid-range kind of Zerasan version that people have been playing again lately. That one's personally my favorite, super fun. But yeah, this deck is very annoying, but thankfully the sideboard that Gruul has available to it is very good against this deck, and I'm going to talk about why right now. So in the matchup, they do so many different things, and the most annoying thing is that you get milled. But this deck has a lot of things that can take advantage of mill in the main board and in the sideboard. So in the main board, Scooze is going to be your best friend. The Scavenging Ooze is going to allow you to target your own graveyard, eat a lot of your creatures, get really big, put the number of cards in your graveyard below, hopefully 8, so they don't get any of their benefits, and you get to control like their own deck's playstyle through your own main board, which is really strong in my opinion. Other things, Colossus, you get to exile their spells from their graveyard, their creatures, so they can't come back. You get to manage how big your graveyard is so they don't get all their pluses, all while dealing damage and healing to deal with their annoying flyers and early death touching kind of tempo play that they do. So that is also a really good card in the matchup that you're definitely going to sideboard in. Scorching Dragonfire kills every single rogue except for Zerasan, so you definitely want that in the matchup because you get to prevent them from using their land to revive all their creatures basically. And if they have Lurrus, sorry Lurrus, you're not going to do anything this game because they're all exiled. And you're also going to want Ox of Agonis and Vivian. Vivian gives you the ability to kind of grind them out once it gets to that point in the game. You're also making 3/3 blockers with reach, and all their creatures basically die to that. So it's a really good tool. Also lets you be able to cast things from your deck. So yeah, all around good card. Ox of Agonis, obviously good because you're getting milled out. Then you get to pop it back into play. Then you're going to probably get a 2-mana draw 3, and you're going to pop off and win. So yeah, that's definitely what I would recommend in this matchup, setting those in. So to sum that up, we're going to take out 3 Cleave, because they have so many counters and so many kill cards that you're not really going to have a creature that's going to like get in with a Cleave. Going to take out 1 Henge because you'd rather have a Vivian than a Henge. It's more reliable. But Henge is still really good in the matchup, so if you can get it, it's really nice. Take out a Questing Beast. While it is pretty good, they're not going to block it often. It really doesn't offer much in the matchup, and you'd rather have cards that are more proactive than a Questing Beast. And you're going to take out a Brush, Fire Elemental, and a Mammoth, just because they're the kind of floater creatures that aren't really necessary for winning in the matchup, and you'd rather have your more controlling pieces than, say, a Mammoth or the Brush Fire. Although the Brush Fire is very good in the matchup because they can barely ever block it. Yeah, so with that being said, you take out all those, put in 2 Scorching Dragonfire, 2 Colossus, 2 Ox, 1 Vivian, and I think it's set. You should be able to win that pretty easy, block out other things, kill other things, and just kind of win through value. Last but not least, we have the mirror match against Gruul Adventures itself. And it's a pretty simple sideboard, I think. But there are a lot of pieces that you could put in and we'll mention those after I tell you what I think is the best kind of just general thing to side against them. So without any further ado, in the mirror match, you want to put in 2 of Crow and War, you want to put in 2 Wilts, and you want to put in 1 more Vivian. Basically, the Wilt is there to take out their Henge and their Embergleave, so you're not dying to that, you're not losing to value. You're also sniping out their Crow and Wars that they're going to put in against you, and all in all, it's a very good card in the mirror match. Crow and War, you're going to obviously take their creatures. You have a lot of synergies since you're the same deck. You can use your 1/1s to enable their Lovestruck Beast to attack. You can steal their Questing Beast if they don't side them out. You can steal their Bone Crushers and block against many of their creatures. A lot of things you can do with that card. You can force their things to attack, kill their 1/1s. Their Lovestruck Beasts are useless now. It's just really a good card in the mirror match. And you just get a bunch of beefy dudes that you can beat them down with. Pretty sweet. And Vivian is kind of there just to prevent like having dead top decks. Basically, it gives you the chance to play off the top of your deck, cast more creatures, makes your Henge better, things like that. Cards that aren't really useful in the matchup is Brushfire Elemental. Sadly, all your creatures are basically 4 power or higher. It's gonna kill that guy all the time. He dies to Stomp. He dies to like every removal in the deck. And Questing Beast also, it's a 4/4. It's going to trade with the Bone Crusher more often than not. That's not necessarily what you want him to do. He is good against like Vivian, but you know, he's probably going to die in other ways that you're not really going to want. So he's probably not the best creature in the matchup itself. Honorable mentions that you could put in. I think you could put in Scorching Dragonfire. I mean, you kill a lot of annoying things. That allows you to trade up with creatures. You can hit Planeswalkers. So yeah, that's maybe like if you want more removal, you could definitely put that in. But definitely think you need to minus out 4 Brushfire Elementals, 1 Questing Beast, and add in 2 Crow and War, 2 Wilt, 1 Vivian. Alrighty guys, that kind of wraps up this guide on how to sideboard, what to put in, what to take out. Yeah, if you have any more questions, feel free to ask me. You can either leave a comment on the video, you could hop on to Twitter, follow me there, maybe ask me a question, at me or something. And or you could always hop on the stream and check out what we're going to be doing. Any questions on there? I play a lot of Gruul, play a lot of Rogues, play a lot of Mono Red, so I'm always down and willing to answer any questions that you guys have. I am going to be changing my schedule. I think I'm going to be streaming at night now. Trying to test that out, see how that goes. And then focus more on doing YouTube videos in the morning. So yeah, thanks for watching guys. Hope you have a good day. Catch you next time.